Well, Larry and I were just talking about how boring everything was today.
Nothing happened.
Just as just a nice little walk in the park, nothing much
Just a
going
walk.
on. But the things that maybe some of you don't know yet as you're watching this, I guess I could have shown you some clips of these things, but if you're not on X and you're not paying attention, you may not know that Tesla got just a little bit of publicity today, just a little. I don't know which one is bigger, Larry. We had three big pieces of publicity. The one would have to be in third place for sure, but the other two, it's kind of hard to choose between. If you wanted your Cybertruck to be reviewed by somebody, how about Tucker Carlson? So not only is he not only a review, but a review in a farm with a sawmill with a guy that's been working on and working with trucks his entire life. Should we do a spoiler alert here? Or?
Yeah, let's spoil it all.
We'll spoil it all. He loves the truck. He says it can do everything that his Ford 150 can do. So I don't know how you pay for that kind of publicity. It's going to be seen by millions and millions. And it's specifically in the category that people said, nah, it's not going to be a good work truck. So what did you think, Larry?
See, I think this is a very important move. I mean, I don't know whether Tucker did this of his own volition or whether he was given a little bit of direction, but this is the right move for Tesla. I mean, we have to move into, the Western states, the Southern states. We have to move into Middle America. We have to move. The Cybertruck is such a good vehicle. Such a good work vehicle. I mean, people knock it who've been driving all these, these old trucks, and these legacy trucks, I should call them.
Yes.
And don't appreciate the value add that, first of all, an EV gives a truck, and secondly, just how robust this truck is. And how suitable it is for farm work, for construction work, for all kinds of that kind of stuff. Look, the only thing that may be a little negative is towing. I think if you're towing long distances, not if you're towing, within the city. Right. So if you're taking your work stuff to a work job 30 miles away, 50 miles away, 60 miles, that's a nothing burger. That's fine. But if you're towing a horse, a horse trailer, or you're towing, something for long distances, 150 miles, 100 miles, you really are at the limit, or you're testing the limits of, what the charging situation is, because you're going to have to charge, every 150 miles or so. But that's kind of its own, and the extra pack. What do they call the extra pack?
Range extender.
There you go. The range extender will deal with that issue at a cost of some capacity.
Right.
But other than that use case or those use cases, this is an ideal truck. An ideal truck. And by the way, it's not a problem if you're doing occasional, using an occasional trailer. But this is an ideal truck, and I've said so all along. And, I mean, this was the perfect pitch.
Yeah. Couldn't get much better. So then there was somebody else who got introduced to a Cybertruck today. Larry, did you happen to see that?
I did.
I'll let you tell this one.
And, this is really for the same audience that the truck audience would appeal to. This is, our good friend Donald Trump got presented a truck today.
Yes, with a great rap.
Yeah, it was a really, it was I mean, it was an election rap. Let's put it that way.
Rap, yes.
Yeah.
With Trump giving his famous iconic pose from the assassination attempt. Yeah. So this was a big deal. Again, this was an hour-and-a-half interview with Adin Ross, who has a very large following. And Adin Ross, in as part of that hour-and-a-half interview, gave this truck to Trump, and then they sat in it and listened to some music. And I guess they didn't get a chance to drive it for
Yeah,
security.
I'd love to hear Trump off he drives it, because he, he's been such a reluctant guest to the EV world.
Right.
And he said, I guess I have to support EVs now that Elon Musk is following me. But, he is literally ignorant about EVs, literally.
Yeah.
And he kind of spreads that kind of stuff. It would be so good for him to drive it and to experience it. But I guess he doesn't drive himself much.
I guess he probably doesn't. Yeah, that's a fact. Okay, so then, normally this other video, we would probably be talking more about it, but it only makes it into third place on a day when
Yeah.
Tucker and the ex-president are the two that got the first and second place. But Alexandra got her debut today.
Yeah, she did a fantastic job, I will tell you. I mean, she was on Yahoo this morning, on Yahoo Finance this morning. Man, she did a bang-up job. Right, yeah. I mean, she packs a lot of punches, that lady. I mean, I'll tell you, she is, I think, our best ambassadress, I guess.
Something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the headline from one resource, I just saw the one headline so far, is that she thinks the stock goes to 10,000. That's a pretty good headline.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the question that she was asked is, what did she think of Kathy's analysis of the 2600? And her answer was pitch perfect. As she normally, she normally hits the bullseye. I mean, what she was saying is that, look, the 2600 ignored the bot,
right?
Ignored Optimus. She thinks that with Optimus, the number is between 5,000 and 10,000. She'd take 5,000, but her target is 10,000.
And that got, international attention today.
Yeah.
So now, Larry, you get all three of those in one day, and you can't ask for much more. You can't even have a better day than that. And yet the stock ended up down in the regular going, and a little up, but kind of following the NASDAQ around all day. It just kind of, whatever the NASDAQ did is what Tesla did today. So we're not getting any bump at all from this massive.
But why? Why, you may ask yourself.
Yeah, that's why
this was the worst day in the stock market in 3 years.
Yeah.
This was a panic market. It's interesting. We did our program on Saturday, and we're calling for a recession, and the market reacted today. I mean, the power of your program is incredible.
Well, I'm the only one. You've been getting it right for a long time, Larry, but I came around and I picked June.
Yeah, you did.
Start of the recession, and nobody else is talking about the third quarter except you. Yeah. And then I also started talking about a 5 to 20% pullback about 3 weeks ago. And once again, I've been right twice in the same year, Larry. I think I'm probably done. That's probably the best I can hope.
It was a great call. And in the market today really reacted very strongly to the stories of the Japanese carry trade. And we talked about this at length on Saturday when we talked about Kathy's, her analysis. Look, the Japanese market tanked.
Right.
The Japanese market tanking, set the stage, and there was panic. The VIX, the VIX went off the charts. Right. I mean, literally off the charts. I mean, I think it hit 55, we said earlier.
63.
63. We were talking a little earlier to hit 63. Now, I glanced at the chart in the morning, and I thought it was at the 70 mark. So I thought, oops, going to be an interesting day. But, you know, I've been anticipating this for a while. And as you know, I'm largely in cash. So from my perspective, it really didn't trouble me or concern me. In fact, here's the amazing part of it. I'm slightly up on the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm slightly up on the day. And, you know, I haven't even, I mean, it's quite possible I'm quite a bit up on the day because of the long bond. And we won't really know until tomorrow.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, you know, so from my perspective, but a lot of people were hurt, and of course those people who are on margin will have been very, very badly hit. Some of them may have lost shares. You know, I really hate that happens. I just hate that happens. I try and tell people, do not buy on margin, do not buy on margin. And you know, people say margin has a place. Yeah, margin has a place if you have extremely deep pockets.
Yes.
And you can use it, you know, in algo trading, and you can use it for other, but even people with really deep pockets have been caught really badly, you know. So all I'm trying to say is that the market really took a tumble. It actually recovered from its worst situation by the end of the day.
Right.
I think the panic was, you know, kind of easing a little bit. The VIX ended at, you know, in the mid-30s, which is really, really high, but it's not like panic high.
Right. So, Larry, we had, as we talked about Friday night and also talked about again on Saturday morning, and people want to go back and look at those videos. Those are really telling because we couldn't have been more on point. The things that were affecting things, and this is now being reported by everybody else. Now that we've reported it, they're all following what we reported, but they weren't reporting it on Thursday and Friday. What we were reporting is that the numbers that from the IMF and from the S&P, both of those numbers on manufacturing came in way less and way softer, and also that the expectations, the order books were empty, and the optimism wasn't there going forward, and that was a big impact on Thursday. And then it was followed by the huge surprise on the labor market. Right.
Yeah.
But then today we had the services, same thing, IMF and S&P. The services side of that came out today, and both of those were quite good. They were surprisingly strong. So I think there's at least a chance that by midday, well, of course, those both come out by 10 o'clock, by 10 o'clock New York time. So by 10 o'clock, I think the market was going, well, it's not good, but maybe it's not as bad as we thought.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be there are going to be ripples, and there are going to be some additional waves, and definitely some pretty serious ripples over the next week or two. You know, people are calling for the Fed to do a interim raise. It's not going to happen with this Fed. I don't believe. I think they're going to stay the course unless there's another big shock. But you know, we're in an election season.
Yeah.
And so anything can happen on any day. And there's a potential war looming. You know, somewhere along the way, Iran is going to respond to the assassination of the PLO political chief on their watch in their city,
right,
in their country, and so we definitely have a risk, a downside risk of very significant proportion over the next couple of weeks or months.
Yeah, and without getting political, the people have been calling part of this recent rally before last week. They were calling that rally the Trump bump. But now Kamala is coming up in the polls. I'm wondering if the news should be calling this the Kamala dump.
Well, you know, the interesting thing about Kamala, I was just watching before we got underway. I was watching the what was I watching? I was watching this analysis, best not to say who it was in this forum, but I was watching this analysis, and the analysis was very clear to me anyway. I mean, what was being said is that Kamala has not yet come out in public.
Right. 14 days.
Yeah, not yet come out in public. I mean, it's almost like a continuation of the Biden,
Biden in the basement.
the Biden basement. What are we going to call this? The Kamala kitchen. I don't know what we call it, but she's not come out in public.
Yeah.
She's had these set pieces. I mean, I was thinking of making a little reel of the few times she's come out in public. Like, I don't know if you saw her statement on the runway when the hostages came back.
Yeah.
I mean, she couldn't string a sentence together.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
I mean, literally. So, I'm just amazed, just stunned that we should choose her. I mean, she was a vice president of absence.
Yes.
She was vice president. She was a, border czar of absence. And now she is a presidential candidate of absence. And her popularity is soaring. Just as Biden, was most popular when he sat in the basement.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But, he beat Trump from the basement.
I know.
So who knows? This could well happen again.
Yes. So as a political, my political side and watching politics my whole life, I really believe that Trump lost it on the ground game. The Democrats have always, or for decades, had the best ground game.
Yes.
Don't know why the Republicans have never figured out how to get the ground game going. But I do know that the Trump group right now is put out a call for 100 to 150,000 ground volunteers. They only got a little over 100 days to put that group.
It's a little late to be organizing your ground game now.
But in any case, that's where the action is, and they got to find a way to equal that ground game. The reality is, as it stands right now, there's a chance that she wins the popular vote and that Trump wins the actual election.
Randy, I think that we are so early.
Yeah.
I know it seems that we're late in the season, but given that she is a candidate that she was an accidental candidate.
Right.
Given that she's an accidental candidate, this is just the beginning. And I think they're going to keep her, under wraps. Now, who knows? She may be a great campaigner. She may be. I have no idea. All I know is that the few times I've heard her responding, off the cuff, have been so painful that I'm struck. And I was for years a never Trumper.
Yeah.
And I think that anyway, it's not worth talking the politics of the situation. All I want to see is this debate happen. And I want to, get a much better sense for both candidates.
Yeah. So let's go back to the financials. And we had, you said you don't think that this Fed will cut, but no less a sterling leader guy that everybody pays attention to than Jeremy Siegel came out today, not asking for 25, not asking for 50. He wants a 75 basis cut immediately, followed by a 75 basis cut at the September meeting. What did you think about that?
Well, I think it's the right thing to do. That's actually what I would do if I had the magic wand. If I had the power, the magic wand, if I had the ability to affect policy, I would do that, because I think we're in a much worse situation than we appear to be. And I think that globally, the world is teetering on a very serious brink. I mean, I think China is in a very serious situation. Europe is at war. I mean, that functionally is what's happening. And they're not really in a position to, they don't have the ability reflate. I think we're in a very serious situation. I don't know that this inflation bogey that we keep raising our head is appropriate at this time. I haven't had that feeling for a while now. And, I feel that we're in a functional, they talk about a 2.5% GDP growth in this last quarter.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
No, there's not a chance.
It's not happening.
Right. Yeah.
I'm a long-time observer of this economy, a long-time observer.
Yes.
And my gut tells me they're wrong.
Yeah, it'll be revised down.
In 83, sorry, let me revise mine. Yeah, in 2000 and can't even figure it out right. Yeah, George Bush the first. So we're going back to 1990. Yeah, that's how long ago it was. People were saying just how bad the economy was and that we were in a recession. And I said, we're at the beginning of a huge growth curve. And Clinton was the winner of that.
Yeah.
But,
it was partially the economy, partially the fact we had that third party candidate who sucked up a bunch of the vote. What was that guy's?
That was
the billionaire.
Ross Perot.
Ross Perot, yes. So that was the two reasons why he lost.
That cost him the election. Yes. But what I'm trying to say is that the economists were telling us that we were in a recession, and I was saying no, we're in one of the biggest growth spurts we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And even in the second year of Clinton's presidency, people were still talking about how bad the economy was, and it was growing at about 6-7%.
Right. Well, the recession actually, even the people who reported, saying that the recession ended in the third quarter, maybe, or it was either the second or third quarter before the election. But
that's exactly what happened. Yeah,
but the news reporting was not covering it. And I, as you know, have studied recessions. You and I may have even talked about this before.
Yeah.
What most people don't realize, that recession came from two things. It came from the cutback in the military, which destroyed Boeing and McDonnell. I think McDonnell was still independent then. I think Boeing hadn't bought them yet. It destroyed a lot of military, when I say destroyed, dramatically cut back on the number of engineers and employees at these places. And that combined with the new taxing method that they were using for multifamily dwellings dropped the value of multifamily dwellings by a bunch. And so then housing followed that. So you had a couple of things that were really, really significant that really had nothing to do with the underlying economy. So that's why it was able to pick up so well, so quickly, is because the underlying economy was fine.
And I think we're in the opposite state right now. I think we are not measuring correctly. And even if we're measuring correctly, we're measuring late. So I suspect we're in that recession. And, Mayor Thaker is attuned to this very closely, and he has this viewpoint as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then let's see. I was looking here. Oh, yes. The other thing that people talked about was the Buffett effect. So
yeah,
I've seen both sides of that today, but Apple.
Well, let's just say what it is so people understand.
Yeah.
So Warren Buffett runs Berkshire Hathaway, even though he's
93.
He was 89. Yesterday. At 93, he runs this, gigantic Berkshire Corporation, and his biggest stock holding was Apple for years. It absolutely, eclipsed everything else. Of course, it wasn't when he bought it. It's just done so well for him. But he sold a little bit of it last quarter, previous quarter, And people were surprised. And he said, well, I'm just, just paring it down because it's a little bit much. He sold half of it. And we only learned it like the day before yesterday,
Yeah.
or Friday,
Yeah.
late after the bell.
After hours, yeah.
And so that had to have somebody twitching, right?
Yes.
Warren Buffett going to cash. He's sitting on $250 billion of cash,
Right.
Mr. Buffett.
Yes. And he can't find any place to put it.
He cannot place. I know what he's going to do with it.
Oh, you do? Okay.
He's going to give half of it back to his shareholders.
Oh, okay.
He's going to use the other half of it to pick up a juicy company in the $120 billion range.
Okay.
Now, the half he gives back, he's not going to give back right away. He's going to give it out, over several quarters, because he wants to make sure that what he has coming in is what he's giving out.
Right.
But he's going to take $120 billion and buy himself, another railway. He will never buy another airline. He lost too much money there. But he's going to buy, molecules.
Yeah.
He's going to buy brick and mortar and molecules.
Yeah, that's what he likes to buy. So the other side of that question, though, Larry, and I know this is not a program where we talk about Apple, although both of us, I think, made some money on Apple. But Apple had two negative stories out over that same period of time. One was that they were having to kick back their date of the announcement and or the actual beginning of sales of the new iPhone. And the other was from somebody that was supposed to be an insider who had seen the AI on this new iPhone and found it to be meh. So when those reports were coming out at the same time as the Buffett cutback, I just wondered if Buffett knew that this next phone is not all that amazing, and that was why he got out.
I don't know. I don't follow Apple and I don't follow Warren Buffett.
Right.
So all of this is of not great interest to me. I'm sure it is to some of our audience. And so, whatever you know about it, I'm sure has a lot of merit. All I know is that, Buffett is interested in molecules. He's interested in the classic economy.
Right.
He is last generation. He's a last generation investor. He's not a next generation investor, and he's going to do very well because his companies are all hand chosen to be, cash generation machines.
Right.
Some of them, like Coca-Cola, will run out of gas. I may be wrong. Some of them, like all the airlines he bought will run out of gas. I think my own opinion is Apple will run out of gas. And I know that's not a very popular opinion amongst some of your audience, but I've never invested in Apple.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, okay.
No, I never invested in Apple. I'll tell you what kept me from investing in Apple. Siri.
Okay, because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but by the time Siri came along, you would have already missed a pretty good run up.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't invest in Apple.
Okay, all right. So then the other thing that happened over today, which you and I have been paying a lot of attention to, and it's really because of Cathie Wood again, I think in my case, maybe in your case, is this inversion, the bond inversion. And today it inverted or it reverted.
Yeah.
It reverted back in the right direction pretty substantially and then inverted back again. And last time I checked, it was about 10 basis points inverted again on the 10-year and the 2-year. So I know that we've acknowledged that it's hard to know what the heck it means, but did you take anything away from all of that action? You're a bond guy.
Yeah, I think it's going to remain inverted. I think sorry, not remain inverted. I'm sorry. It's going to revert.
Okay.
I think we're at that point. I think, there's no question that the government is going to have to find a way to force the Reserve Bank, this government, the Biden administration is going to have to find a way to force the Federal Reserve to put some cash into the economy, regardless of the economic environment, regardless of whether they believe or not we're in a recession. Because the situation from the perspective of the election is too close for them. And you know, they have levers to pull in that regard. You know, the Federal Reserve is supposed to be independent, but Washington's a very small town.
Yeah. Yeah. But the traditional thinking is that even those levers are not 1 month or 1 quarter levers. Almost all of those levers take 5-6 months before they have an impact.
To the economy, but not to the interest rates.
Right. Oh, no, they can fix the interest rate, right?
Yeah, that's why I think we're going to revert. Even though we reverted and then inverted again, I think we're going to revert. That's the argument. I don't think that they're going to fix the economy overnight. You know, I think that's a long-term thing.
I did talk to, I think it was Brian White earlier today, who was talking about how inexpensive airline tickets are right now. And and when you're looking at a situation where the things that's holding up the economy right now is travel and experience, travel and leisure, when airline tickets are that low, and 3 of the airlines came in with horrible earnings, I'm not sure where these services are going to hold up over the next couple of months. Maybe they were okay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Brian is on target. My wife's going to Philadelphia for a weekend for an art show, just another couple of weeks, and we booked a ticket yesterday. And I thought, I said, you know, this is a very expensive ticket. You know, Raleigh to Philadelphia, $660. My wife said, no, it's $330. I said, yeah, but that's one way. She said, no, that's return. I said, what? I haven't seen a price like that in 5 years.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be the guy who looks like he's dancing on the grave of a falling economy, but I also want to call it like it is. I don't want to, Mr. Optimist does not want to sugarcoat what looks to me like a real recession, not one that will be felt.
Yeah, but I think we have a good opportunity to get out of it. I think we have a lot of things going for us, and one of those, you know, we're at the brink of a revolution.
Right.
So, you know, in a way, this is like the 2000 tech.com bust. But I think the opportunity to get out of it is very manifest, and I think that's a possibility. I think, you know, what could threaten that is a Middle East war, the war in Europe expanding, you know, an energy crisis in Europe. Something global could well, but otherwise, I think we could be poised to revert. A lot will depend on this election. We need, you know, this couldn't happen at a worse time. We need to get this election out of the way.
Yeah.
And if the election's out of the way, I think we have a good chance of, you know, keeping this thing contained.
I think you're 100% right. It's only fair, even though, you know, I've got a couple of wins in my column. It's only fair to go ahead and make the next prediction. I think this will be a 6 month to 9 month. It might only be a 3 month, quite frankly, but I think it's going to be a 6 to 9 month recession, and I think we'll come out of it screaming.
Yeah, I think the recession is going to be done by inauguration next year.
Yeah, it's probably about right. Yep, we're on the same path. So we have a little time left over, unless you have anything that's
no.
I want to throw at you the same thing I threw at Brian White a little while ago, and that I talked about over the weekend. I'll do it much more briefly than I did in those 2 cases, but it occurred to me Sunday that we may be missing the biggest impact on Tesla cars, maybe ever, Tesla car sales, ever.
I heard you. I
Oh, you
heard you.
did hear it. Okay. So you know my theory.
Yeah.
So part one, of course, is we've talked about it. You and I have even talked about it. Obviously, we're going to sell a lot more cars if it has something that has this benefit, this incredible thing of full self-driving that you can just have it drive you around. That's going to sell more cars. But part two is, and this is the part that hit me the other day, is that the entrepreneurs are going to start buying the cars like crazy because they want to turn it into a small business, and that this could dry up all of the excess capacity rapidly and see big numbers even in the early part of next year.
Yeah, I think that I'm skeptical. I think, firstly, there is a limit, even at the low cost of robotaxis. There's a limit to how much people will use a robotaxi versus use their own car.
Mm-hmm.
And that limit is really on a matter of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing to be able to step out into the garage, get into your car, and drive to the corner grocery store. I was going to say corner cafe because that's what it was in South Africa, but drive to the grocery store or drive to the hairdresser or drive to the whatever. That level of convenience is very significant, is very, very significant to most people who can afford it. The inconvenience of having to tap the app and wait for the available car, particularly as most people do their stuff at roughly the same time for some reason. So I think that almost everybody is going to want to have their own car. I think that the people who will do the buying of cars and renting out of cars will be a lot larger than the people doing Airbnb, but it will be kind of like Airbnb. Not everybody wants to rent out their house. Not everybody wants to buy a house to rent out. So, and the other thing is, you really got to run your business well to make money out of the robotaxi. It is not a slam dunk that people think it is. Running any business takes time, attention, and care. Otherwise, the money leaches away for 100 different reasons. And so a lot of people may jump into it, but I think they'll be weeded out. So I'm taking a lot less. I'm thinking that the revolution won't happen quite at the speed that you're thinking about. I think it will depress significantly the number of cars sold in the marketplace. I think it'll increase significantly the number of Teslas sold in the marketplace.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that what you're saying will happen like overnight.
So the market that we're talking about initially is not switching people out of their cars. I'm talking about the next year. I'm not talking about what's going to happen in 26, 27, 28. I'm talking about what's going to happen right as we introduce the product. And the market that's going to be attacked immediately will be the Uber, Lyft, even public transportation, people that have only one car like myself, people that want to use that car to go downtown because they don't want to pay the parking and hassle with all the traffic.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be people who don't typically even call an Uber. I wouldn't call an Uber right now to go downtown LA, but I would call a cyber cab if it was substantially less expensive. If it was $50 each way to go downtown, I'd do it in a heartbeat, but I won't do it for $100 each way to go downtown. So I think that's the market I'm talking about. Plus there's this, I would just call it the scrappy entrepreneur who's always looking for the opportunity, and they've been looking at this opportunity now for 5-6 years. People have been talking about this robotaxi revolution. Elon's been talking about a single day change in valuation that the world has never seen before. And I
Yeah.
think those scrappy entrepreneurs, I call it, you may not understand this, maybe I'll have to, maybe nobody will get what I'm talking about. I always call it the Salt Lake City entrepreneur. Every time I went to Salt Lake City, whatever was the hot tip, there was 27 of them on every street. So I don't know if that's part of the Mormon thinking or whatever, that they're so entrepreneurial, but you know, if it was a hot tub, man, you had hot tub factory, hot tub stores everywhere. If it was whatever it was. So there's those entrepreneurial types out there that are going to be like poised for this opportunity. And I think that's where we'll see this surge of interest. And one guy, I didn't come up with all of this on my own. One guy was talking about the other day that the used Teslas would just be gone like overnight. And that's what got me thinking.
It's possible. I think these things take time. I don't think they happen overnight. It's not like selling yo-yos. You know, I'm thinking of hula hoops and yo-yos, these things that happen in a flash.
Yeah.
But I think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen quite in a flash. I don't think it'll be. I haven't heard. I spent a lot of time communicating with people in the Tesla community.
Huh?
I haven't heard anybody talking about wanting to run a robotaxi.
Interesting. We know Brian Wong has 9 Cybertrucks in order.
See, Brian is a whole different case. Brian is a very entrepreneurial guy. He's in the community, and you know, we know about Brian's situation, and you know, there are quite a few people who are interested. And I know one guy who runs right now a dozen Teslas.
Okay.
He runs a dozen Teslas, and he doesn't do it through Turo. He has his own arrangement.
Oh, wow.
He does exceptionally well. And for him, he may go out and buy 100 for all I know. You know, I don't think he's quite a cautious guy. I think he'll build it step by step. But that kind of guy can do it because he's such a good operator. He's got such a well-structured operation that he can do it even remotely, and he does it very well. But most operators are sloppy. You know, the first couple of cars they have, or the first car they have, they'll lose money on, and it won't go well.
All right. Well, I'm glad we had this conversation, because I'm always looking for what is the other side of the play. So
Yeah.
I probably won't buy an extra car for it, but my wife is 100% interested in putting the Y out as soon as we get the Cybertruck.
And you know, you have so much experience running businesses.
Yes.
That I think that, you know, that would be, you know, a perfect solution for you guys. I will not run a car. I would not run it because, you know, I don't want to be bothered with it.
Yeah. Oh no, I've put my cars on Turo. I've had what do you call it? Airbnb. I've had 5 people living in my house in Inglewood. On Airbnb. I had a used car rental car business when I was 25. I had 22 cars in my fleet.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Okay. So
I
yes,
think you're proving my point.
there you go. That's right. So yes, if I was younger, man, I'd be buying 10 of these right away, like Brian.
Yeah.
All right. I want to be sensitive to your time. Let's take a look at what's happened here. We've got Tesla in the after hours is up $3.38 at 202.26. So quite the snapback after being down 8.79 in the regular trading. So I looked earlier, and that seemed to be across the board. Everybody was snapping back in the after hours. Yeah, you see Meta's even up $5.97, almost $6.
And Bitcoin has jumped 2.26% in the after hours.
Well, let's go ahead and just run through those real quick, Larry. Let me go over to the app here, and we have got, so the bonds, we don't have all the bonds yet. We have the 10-year is at 3.778, so down just 0.4%.
Yeah.
In the pre-market. We got oil up actually $1.18, so it snapped back.
That's because of the Iran war, the potential of war in the Middle East.
Right, but it was down all weekend, so that's kind of why I was surprised. So, and actually Texas Intermediate is up more than Brent. So go figure. All right. Natural gas up 0.62. It was creamed earlier today. It's now under $2. From what I hear, there's just lots of it. Not nearly as much used up as people thought would be used up. Gold recovering after being way down earlier, up 880. Silver up 0.62% at 27.35, and copper back over $4. Everything is snapping back. So you said, here you go. No, I'm just looking at Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin was down more. That's right. It was down. What was it down at one point? It was under 50, right?
12%.
It was down under 50,000 at one point, right?
Yeah, it was. So during the day, it went down 14.5%, and it snapped back 2.26%. So it's net down 12%.
Yeah, holy mackerel. Sitting at 54,683, but that's still way down from 74 just a few weeks ago. Yeah. And then here we have the is this the real pre-market here? It starts at 3 o'clock or 3:30. I can never remember.
Well, 3:30 your time, right?
3:30 my time. Yeah. So yeah,
we're about 8 minutes short.
Yeah. So this is not the real pre-market. Okay. We'll leave that for folks to look up on their own. Larry, any closing thought? What do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
I think it's going to fluctuate up and down. I think it's going to be, the people are nervous, going to fluctuate. Look, if Iran attacks, the market will decline, more than a couple of percent. If Iran doesn't attack, I expect the market to go sideways.
Okay. All right. And we still have, we agreed again. It was one of those rare times when we were 100% aligned that we should see the rest of this market move into the bear territory.
Yes, I think so. I think that's on the cards.
Okay. All right. Last thoughts? Last chance?
Could see a snapback.
Could.
Yeah.
Happens. Sometimes they have a dead cat bounce.
Yeah. Or the cat may be alive after all.
That's right. You just never know. That's what makes the market so interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks
Take
so
care.
much, Larry. Thank you so much. And to all of you out there, it has been great talking to you.